Hey, my name is Adam, and I'll be discussing the risks investors face when detailed subsidiary level financials are not disclosed. Consolidated financial statements come with many limitations as they summarize all subsidiaries into a single group of financials. Although this does offer a decent understanding of group-wide performance, it can hide important information about the subsidiaries that make it up. An example of this is evident in Harvey Norman, with over 1,500 subsidiaries increasing the risks due to the complexity of its business structure. When detailed subsidiary level financials are missing, financial anomalies in certain segments of the business are likely to fall undetected by investors, as they may be covered up by other more profitable segments. In other words, one loss-making subsidiary could be masked by other profit-making subsidiaries, rendering the losses practically invisible to investors. In terms of regulations, the framework in Australia under AASB 10 emphasises mainly on consolidated and controlled reporting, contrasting with Indian regulations that render individual financials for each subsidiary mandatory. This results in limited transparency and increases the risks of financial manipulation as investors are left blind as to which subsidiaries may be profitable or detrimental. Additionally, keeping investors blind to the performance and profitability of each subsidiary keeps them from being able to detect whether capital is being utilized resourcefully between all of the subsidiaries. This also makes it increasingly difficult for shareholders and investors to push for restructuring to cut off poorly performing subsidiaries and increase the overall value of the business. This is highlighted in the Forbes article, The Subsidiaries Maze, where it mentions companies such as Reliance Industries and HCA Healthcare, masking the truth behind their complex structures. And last but not least, not disclosing detailed subsidiary level financials poses audit, fraud, and ethical liabilities. By hiding subsidiary level financials, businesses can shift liabilities, avoid tax, and commit other fraudulent acts, which may cause legal and ethical repercussions, leading to potential public backlash and/or persecution. To conclude, the omittance of subsidiary level financials hides essential information from investors, affects their decisions, increasing risk and shifting liability in complex company structures.
Here is Yijing. Since Adam has talked about the risks faced by investors, I would like to say how India's approach is different and how this might help Australia to find a more balanced solution. In India, listed companies are required to publish financial statements separately for each subsidiary. For example, Reliance Industries has around 200 subsidiaries, and each of them has its own public report. This improves transparency and helps prevent risks such as profit shifting and related party transactions. This is particularly important in markets where external capital markets are still developing, and thus internal financial monitoring will become more critical. In contrast, Australia focuses on consolidated financial report and does not require companies to issue separate reports for each subsidiaries. Australian regulators believe that consolidated report together with the parent company's disclosures can already meet most users' needs. If Australia adopts India's approach, it will help reduce the information gap and prevent hidden losses or profit shifting, especially in companies with many investment opportunities, high financing needs, or complex ownership structure. But there also have challenges. For example, it will increase costs by preparing many reports. Also, too many disclosures will increase preparatory costs, because competitors may use the detailed information as market intelligence. So, in the end, whether Australia can adopt this system depends on a balance between improving transaction and controlling reports costs. To balance it out, Australia can adopt it in a limited way, for example, only asking major subsidiaries to provide simplified data, or letting companies to retain some sensitive information when necessary.
I'm Chong Xizhong. Then how do too many subsidiaries influence the consolidated report? There's an extreme example. HCA Healthcare, Reliance Industries, and Harvey Norman Limited in Australia have more than 1,500 subsidiaries. First, two key advantages are risk management by zones and operational flexibility. Raj Gopal 2025 claims that Harvey Norman isolates financial and legal risk at a physical level through the establishment of the multiple subsidiaries. This can enhance the flexibility of the operational tax structure and compliance with regional regulations. While promoting strategic expansion in many countries, it can also protect the parent firm from local difficulties. Additionally, this can support brand classification and strategic control. Each subsidiary in Harvard Normal Limited can operate semi-independently, adjusting product lines, pricing, and marketing to local customer preferences. This increased response to regional situations while keeping corporate oversight. However, too many subsidiaries cause negative impacts on audit oversight. According to the research by Deco et al. 2010, companies with a confidential organizational structure are more likely to make financial misstatements and restatements due to insufficient supervision and information gaps. This means that management may take advantage of information gaps to falsify earnings or adopt fake accounting methods. In conclusion, too complex subsidiary structure provides flexibility and risk isolation, but it also poses significant obstacle to audit control. Therefore, such companies need to undergo more rigorous regulatory inspections to ensure accurate and transparent comprehensive reports.
I'm Nadia, and building on Adam, Changxi, and Yixing's points about the benefits and costs of detailed reporting, it's important to consider how the disclosure of subsidiary performance data affects shareholder activism, driving corporate restructuring. Activists use their own ownership in a company, not just to change governments, but to pressure boards to restructure or even cut underperforming subsidiaries, relying on the data disclosed under AASB 8, IFRS 8, and additional industry benchmarks. While, as Adam noted, consolidated reports can mask weak performance, these segmented disclosures allow activists to find these inefficiencies that might otherwise remain hidden. Under AASB 8 and IFRS 8, companies must disclose segment revenues, profits, and assets, helping investors analyze these disclosures with KPIs such as ROI, margins, and capital allocation to highlight the inefficiencies that might otherwise be hidden in the consolidated results. Then, activists can use this to influence management directly while still being able to rally shareholder support through public campaigns, AGM resolutions, and proxy fights. There are so many examples of this, such as L1 Capital pressured Santos Ltd to demerge its LNG assets after demonstrating their ROI lagged far behind competitors. Similarly, Elliott Management campaigned against BHP, highlighting that its petroleum division was a cost center where profitability was behind benchmarks, leading to BHP redistributing those resources. Even globally, GE Power's division was completely transformed by shareholder activist investor company Tree and Fund, which utilized the declining ROI relative to GE Aviation to justify pushing for major corporate restructuring. These examples highlight Yixing's point about how more subsidiary data available, like India, lowers risks and strengthens investor oversight. Inversely, as Changxi highlighted when discussing Harvey Norman's 1,500 subsidiaries, complexity brings trade-offs. Excessive disclosure could harm competitiveness by exposing sensitive cost structures to rivals, as Zhao found when firms were forced to reveal new segment data and saw falling profitability due to heightened competition. Compliance costs would also rise sharply as the Treasury estimates climate-related reporting costs $1 to $1.3 million annually for large firms, which would balloon the economic burden if extended to every major subsidiary, especially to SMEs, raising the cost of entry for individuals into industry. Finally, flooding investors with granular figures risks triggering activism over temporary fluctuations rather than systematic inefficiencies. A balanced solution lies in tightening AASB 8, with regulators mandating a core set of standardized KPIs like revenue, capital employed for significant subsidiaries, giving activists the tools they need while protecting companies from competitors' mimicry and unnecessary cost, striking the balance Adam, Yixing, and Changxi touched on, improving transparency for investor protection without undermining business operations.